about those fryers? Because I sure am hungry. For some insider knowledge. Zelda! Come back, baby. Say hi to everybody. Say hi. Good girl. Bush. Hello. Ziffles. Hello. John Plays. Hello. This is going to be a very good stream. Quack. Someone named Gabby. Hello. You love both episodes? Oh, thank you. Yeah, episode 1 got a lot more, it got a big view boost thanks to episode 2, which was really, really nice. Is it fine if my questions are not even related to Stick and Dash? I mean, it's preferable that they are. I can't guarantee that I'll get to your question if they are not, because this is a very focused stream right now. He would insta-ban you? That's crazy. I'm gonna turn up the background music just a tad bit. Hopefully it's not too distracting. If the background music is too much, let me know. SPM, welcome. Hi, everybody. 1,500 subs. I know. SJ, hello, guys. The composer, he's here. SJ Compositions, go give him some love. He deserves it. He freaking killed the score. You are indeed Callium. You know, that's exactly how we like you. We like Callium as Callium. That's all we need in life. No. Just started watching? Nice. Good. So, now that it seems like we have a decent amount of people here, I'm immediately gonna throw a curveball at you guys, because joined with me today, I have two very special guests, and you already know who they are, because they're both in chat right now. Bush, introduce yourself.
My name is Bush.
He is Bushia. He's been a friend of mine for a few years. He's been helping me behind the scenes. Worked together on a few things. And he's here along with my buddy, Callium. Callium, say hi to the people.
Hello everyone. Been a while. I am Callium, indeed.
Callium's, I think, he's been on a couple streams before.
Yeah.
He's more of a creator, right along with me. Bush is more of a, I would say, a player. You know, sinking in thousands and thousands of attempts into Define Pass.
Like 8,000.
8,000, really? Was it that much?
Yeah. Christ.
I suck at the game.
I didn't know that about you, Coach.
It's that damn spider part.
It was!
You DJ, I told you.
SPM, yes, you can ask your questions here just in chat. I originally had a Google Doc, but like one or two people asked stuff, and so I was like, okay, I'm just gonna do chat questions. That'll probably go over a lot easier with people. So to kick things off today, Bush and Callium are here, and the two of them have compiled a list of questions to ask me about just whatever they could come up with to do with this episode, this series, maybe looking back on episode 1. I'm not sure what they've prepared. These are all going to be new questions for me. I don't know what they're going to ask me. So
Basically like an interview.
yeah, this is going to be like an interview style type thing. And then once their questions are done, I'm going to go through the whole 15-minute film from start to finish and provide as much commentary on it as I can think of in the moment and is necessary. So, can he jump green as the cube? Yes. He does figure that out relatively quickly, with a big old asterisk over that. It takes him a couple attempts. So, that's the plan for today. And if I remember correctly, Bush, you have a couple of intro questions. So,
Yep.
whenever you're ready, fire them away.
All right. So yeah. So for people who are probably like newer and don't know Jay as much, I've got some stuff that'll like give, I guess, a bit of background. And the first question I have is, obviously the animation is inspired by Alan Becker's work, and you've talked about how this inspired you and stuff. But what is the story of, how he inspired you, and how did it inspire you to create Stick and Dash?
So, the general idea of like starting the series was I really wanted Alan to make a animation versus GD video at some point. I had discovered Alan's channel in the summer of 2021, and I was going into my sophomore year of college. And I discovered his videos during that summer, and I just graduated from college with a degree in animation. Like, animation is very much like my like purpose, I guess. And so I saw this and I was like, man, this would be really cool to see if someone did this for Geometry Dash. And I was like, well, I'm going to animation school and it doesn't look like this is going to be a thing that they do, so I'll do it. Like, it very much was like a thing where I would take it into my own hands and just do it myself. Like, literally like the Thanos shot. Just fine, I'll do it myself. It was essentially that. And then there also was Alan on his second channel where he plays video games with his buddy DJ. They've played GD a couple of times, and Alan said that he thought of like a potential idea to do animation versus GD, but he found out that a lot of the audio was copyrighted, and so it wouldn't have been a like good investment.
Oh yeah.
Luckily, I don't care as much about that because I don't have like 27 million subscribers. So it's a lot more okay for me to do it than like a bigger channel like his. So I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna do it. I'm gonna see what I can do with it.
Yeah. The second question is, so it's obviously like you're going for a career with animation, and what are you like ultimately planning to achieve with the Stick and Dash project, like for your career wise?
Like, kind of, what's my plan for it as a whole, or what do I hope to accomplish with it?
Yeah, like what do you hope to accomplish with it, like in regards to like the career you're going for?
What I hope to accomplish with the series is to there's kind of a couple things. One of them is to kind of prove to myself that I can do interesting things on my own, because this whole project is like my baby. I'm okay with like sending clips to people and being like, hey, how does this look? Do you have any notes? But like, all of this I want to be animated by me.
Yeah.
And another thing is to kind of see if I can make a compelling narrative using like pretty much only in-game elements. I want to try to come up with some of my own stuff for future episodes and kind of take a couple of creative liberties, but I do want it to feel like it's still uniquely GD at the same time. So there's a couple things that I'm wanting to do, and I'm hoping that I'm hoping that I kind of started to sow those seeds with episode 2. Uh,
Definitely.
so yeah, I kind of just want to see, am I capable of making a multi-part story? Because that is definitely the goal, is to have like a through thread.
Hmm. So, Callum, you can ask the question now.
All right. That I think this one will be like perfect to just start strong. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And so the question is, what was the biggest challenge with animating on top of Unity Dash? Because I mean, everyone already know that you're trying to establish that these two characters are just inside a game. And what's just the biggest challenge you face in trying to accomplish this whole series with Stick and Dash?
I think one of the biggest challenges while working on this was honestly some of the pushback that I got from it. Um, because for those of you who don't know, I was working on this in the background of working on a different project. It's not one that's available for any of you guys to see just yet, but it is essentially done. It's been done for a couple months, and it was done for my senior year of college. And it was working on episode 2 was kind of what I would work on if I needed just a break from working on the other project.
Mhm.
Um, and one of my professors uh, didn't really understand what the point of me working on this was, and it was it was a little bit like tough because I would like go home some nights after like showing some progress, and like I could feel that they weren't like getting it.
You should have told him it was math homework, because geometry dash.
Because
Yeah,
geometry, true.
that's actually clever.
Um, so there was like a little bit of pushback, and like I would show like clips of this to like my parents, and they're just like, "Oh, cool," and like they meant it. And I think seeing the whole like finished thing is a lot different than watching it in parts too. Like I can only imagine what it must have been like for like you guys who've like seen snippets along the way but didn't understand how it all really tied together just yet.
I mean, yeah, that's true. I remember showing some of these small clips of, hey, this section of the actual episode, and then another one, and I thought, okay, this is insane. You're doing a great job, but then it blew me completely away seeing the whole thing. It's just a different experience.
Yeah, and that's actually really cool to hear. I'm glad that it was like it something clicked. And that's actually kind of like another goal. Going back to your other question, Bush, was like really make something click with people. I think trying to make like something relatable in a way, because like everyone, whenever they pick up this game, like they're like, "Oh, I'm not gonna be good enough."
True, that's true. That's a nice analogy to say. That's a nice way to put it. All
So,
right, so I guess that Bush can now ask the other one.
yeah, so I saw some people in chat ask something similar. But obviously, yeah, did you choose purple and green as the stickman colors because they're the colors of your icon?
Yes, 100%. I actually have the game opened right here. Hi, this is GD. I actually went into the icon kit and color picked my colors. Like I took a screenshot, I dragged it into my drawing software, and I picked the colors that I use for my icons.
That's
Um,
fun.
and I can in fact tell you both of the RGB values for my purple and my green. Like I've used them that much. I know the values.
Do they
Mhm.
coincidentally have 7, 3, and 5 in them?
No, because the max number is 255.
Well, I mean, they could technically have those digits at some point.
Purple is 185, 0, 255. Green is 0, 125, 255, I think. It's either that or the
It's a
other way
lot of
around.
fives.
It is a lot of
Has the fives
fives.
in it.
It's a lot of fives, so there you go. There's no sevens or threes, but there's a few fives to make up for it.
Coincidence? I don't think so.
Well, if you add up all the numbers and you decode them, it actually spells out J735. Subscribe now.
It actually encodes the release date for the next episode.
It actually has the whole file like encoded in there. It's like an alien like a encoding transcript that we don't know.
Yeah, it's the whole series. It's already done. I'm just releasing them a few years apart from each other to maintain longevity.
Yeah, he's just milking it at this point.
Yeah, yeah, I'm milking it for the views.
Yeah, bro, that's crazy.
All right, Callium, you can do the next question.
All right. I guess we can just ask this one directly since it seems very much related to the previous question that you made. So it's also related to purple and green, and it is that they appear to have their own styles of being animated. Because I mean, I personally don't see them like they are the same stick figure, but you don't you don't look at them like they are the same, like a different.
They move differently.
Yeah. So how did that come about? It's like how purple and green differ from each other in terms of being animated.
So, purple takes like 5 times longer to animate than green. And the reason
Oh,
for
wow.
that is because I make a conscious effort to animate them differently. Um do Going back to what I had mentioned earlier where I found out about Alan's videos in like the summer of 2021, right? The previous summer, the Henry Stickmin collection got released along with completing the mission. And I was like full on had an obsession with that game, that like pack of games for a good year and a half to 2 years, and that was like when I made the Valiant Hero extended animation.
Oh,
Dude, that one
Um,
went crazy.
yeah,
yeah.
it's currently my highest viewed vid. It's like 630,000 views or something like that.
Oh,
Uh,
wow. It's close. Close to the million.
yeah, it's well over halfway there. But uh, there was this very like specific block of time where I loved both Henry and Alan's stuff like at the same time. And so I had the thought when I was like drumming up the idea for the Stick and Dash pilot, episode 1, where it was like, what if one of them is animated more so like Alan's, where there's a lot more in betweens, and then there's another one that's animated like Henry, where he's very like pose to pose, jumpy, very snappy movement, and I still love that idea, and I think that that actually makes both of them unique. It gives them their own like a little bit of personality, whether you are like able to visually acknowledge it or not.
Makes a lot of sense.
So it's very much like each of them are drawing inspiration from other stick figure media that I've grown to love over the years.
I see. That's nice. You see, I kind of agree with this guy on the chat, Robin Bergworks, that is, he says, when the characters don't talk, body language is the most important thing when conveying individual personalities. And I think you achieve that so well with both purple and green. I personally, especially, feel identified with purple. I think he's just more, his personality is just almost the same as me. And I also love when he's excited, he just like, he swings his arms up and down. It's so
Yeah,
awesome.
yeah, he does like the where that's gonna be here somewhere. I can find it for you.
It's so great. I need that.
Right,
Yes, emote.
right here. Yeah, that arm thing. I love when people do that arm thing with characters because it's
Oh
like
my
you
god,
can't help it. You can't help
I
but
mean,
be
it's so
excited
cool.
with
I
them.
love it. That's awesome. All right, so I guess that keeps the open for Bush. Bush,
All
can you
right.
complete the question?
My next question is a very interesting one, and I'll try to explain as best I can.
Okay.
What is the point of view of a stick figure when they are in cube form? Like, do they
Oh,
transform into like a separate dimension with like a screen, like a mouse that they click, or do they just like look straight forward and they just see like a 2D spike and they like how does it? What is the sensation they feel when they jump? Like, how do they even do that? Like, how does
it's
that
a
work?
good one.
You know, that's one of those things that I haven't really thought of, but it's also one of those things where you might be looking into the weeds a little bit too much. You might be might be thinking a little bit too hard. If I had to, like, if I had a gun to my head right now and I had to answer it, my thought would be like they just see what the screen sees. So like
So it's
when
like their eyes are like detached, basically, just to like the screens. They see themselves in like third person.
yeah, essentially, like, cuz I don't know how you would be able to navigate the game other than a third person view because first person would be like it would be like your amount of attempts but on back on track with the viewpoint.
So
Like
how do they
it's
jump?
they just jump. They're able to.
Do they have like a clicking sensation or like
They just
Yeah.
jump.
they just
And what about the ship?
They're able to fly.
And what if they're a spider?
It's crazy.
Well, we haven't gotten there yet, have we?
Do they feel like their limbs like extending out of their body like painfully, like as they undergo a metamorphosis?
Next question.
Alright, tell me
Oh
your-
my god, excellent. That's excellent. Alright then. Um let's see, what should I
Also, I
ask?
just have to say, it got really dark outside, and I have my color changing lights on right now, and this is a total vibe.
Oh, dude,
This
that's
is so
beautiful.
nice.
It's crazy.
Got the calm music going on. It's great.
Okay, let's ask this one because I think this will be also interesting to hear the answer.
Okay.
What was the process in directing the action that occurs inside the Geometry Dash game in terms of the recording? Of course, keeping in mind that the animation you wanted to do over it.
Yeah, that is something that I will definitely go into like a lot more in depth later. But the general process of like recording gameplay footage was actually very, very taxing because I would have to make sure that I got every single recording perfectly, and if that meant recording something, like doing the same recording 10 times and finding which of the best, like which of those 10 had the best like looking gameplay, that's what I
Did you
had
die
to
at
do
all?
several times. Several times.
How many attempts? Was this an extreme demon project here?
Um when it got to the end, like the combat scene, definitely when it got to attack.
Oh,
Attack
yeah.
was very, very attempt heavy. Let me put it that
And you
way.
had to like dodge stick figures and stuff fighting you, like it was like real life, huh?
Yeah. It was quite the opposite.
That's a nice way to put it.
Yeah.
And well, that's a little bit unlucky that I don't get to just get the full explanation about this, but at least
Well,
I got a
I
glimpse of
have
it.
I have some stuff prepared that I'll be able to show everyone who's still here, and it'll make a
Oh,
lot
yeah.
more sense.
Oh, so I was just trying to get ahead of myself, right?
Well, you didn't know you were getting ahead, so it's okay. There's the thing.
Well, that's okay, really.
Just know that it was a lot of trial and error, and a lot of videos got imported that took several hours to import, only for me to find out that I imported the wrong one, and then the
Oh,
software had to load every single image on every frame that it existed, and so animation slowed down because the program was laggy. Like,
how much did it crash?
it crashed a few times. It crashed a few times.
Were any tears shed?
Surprisingly, no. But
Okay.
in place of tears being shed, I would just walk out the room and go downstairs and watch like Mumbo Jumbo.
Oh my
That's so
God.
valid.
All right.
Have you been watching Hermitcraft? Keeping up with it?
Yeah, I've been watching Hermitcraft.
Dude, you've been building, bro.
That is so cool.
Just so everyone in chat knows, I will be able to answer your guys' questions once Bush and Callum have all of theirs answered. So if you have one that hasn't been answered, write it down somewhere, keep it locked up somewhere, because I will be able to get to it. Just right now is like more of an interview portion. So just thought I'd let you guys know.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for that answers, Jay, about the question. So, do you mind, Bush, to continue?
Yeah, I'll continue. My next question is, if there was one last cookie on a plate and purple and green both wanted it, how would they resolve the situation?
You got him to think.
I would say that what would probably happen is green would run to the table and try to swipe the plate away, see that purple's getting visibly upset, and then offer the cookie to be 60-40.
64. That is a great answer. You know, I would imagine that he seems to be a pretty slippery fellow. He might like slip and fall, and then like purple grabs the cookie. I don't know.
Oh, that's thunder. I don't know if that caught on the mic for you guys.
I heard it.
Stream might have been.
Yeah, I heard it too.
Yeah.
It gave the atmosphere for this question.
I know.
Like, what would happen?
I know
Alright,
the drama. It just got like 10 times more dramatic.
With the thunder, the next question is passed on to you, Calvin.
All right, then I think this one will be pretty. This one will be also interesting to hear about. We've seen so far in the 2 episodes of this series that purple and green are interacting with the base game and only the things that are inside the game that are proper of the game itself. But will you ever interject yourself in the Stick and Dash universe directly? And if so, how?
Ooh, that's a good question. I haven't thought about it, but I will say that there might be a place where that could be possible, although I'm not exactly sure if it'll happen.
That'd be like a animation versus geometry dasher type thing.
Yeah.
Oh man, I need to think about this for a second.
We got him, Bush. We got it.
Yeah, I don't think that you're going to see in a self insert. Let me put it that way. I don't know if a self insert would happen. But who knows? That maybe a lack of self insert would be more interesting because of like why my character wouldn't be there. You know.
So that means you're not discarding the possibility, the remote possibility, right?
It's something I would have to toy around with a lot in order to make it feel natural.
I say well.
So I won't say no, but don't be surprised if you don't see like my icon interacting with them or anything.
Well, that's fair. That's completely fair. Yeah, that's fair. All right, so Bush.
All right, I've got a good question. So in Alan Becker's animations, like you know, the chosen one, he was drawn. Like the other stick figures, they're like loaded up in that one web page thing.
Hmm.
How were what were like the origins of like purple and green? Like how were they created in this universe?
You know, this is something that I've had a lot of back and forth on this, and I actually kind of had a little bit of feeling that this question would have gotten asked.
Ooh.
And the
Ooh.
unfortunate answer is it doesn't matter.
Oh man.
uh, I know that people love to find out like the origins of things,
Hold on,
and
let me write it for you, okay? Like let's just say like you were feeling lonely and they're like your childhood friends, your childhood stick figure friends that you drew and they became alive on your computer.
True.
see, I don't know, man. All I'm gonna say is it's not something that is integral in any way to future events.
But you're saying that they just plainly exist within the boundaries of the universe.
Yeah, pretty
They're a
much.
force of nature.
Yeah,
they
something
are
like
they are
that.
forces. They are a combined force of nature. Yes,
Feeling like they were there all along.
maybe.
They were
That's
there from the beginning of time. Like when you boot up your computer, they were there. They were just there.
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
They were just
It's
there
like
and
the
didn't
meme
jump
that
in
it
until
always
like
has
way
been.
later.
All right. I think Italian. You good for the next question?
All right. What should I
Literally
ask for
entities.
this
True.
time? Mm, all right. I'm gonna ask this one because this one is pretty much related to what we saw at the end of the second episode. So, at the end of it, we saw that the next adventure will be related to the editor. So, do you think that purple and green will be able to release a playable level for the people to enjoy, or do you think the editor just gonna be like their private playground to experiment with everything that it has to offer?
So I like the idea of them going in there into the editor and definitely being able to create something that is uniquely them. Whether or not a full like level is made is not decided yet. It is an option. However, as you know, Callium, as you are also a creator like myself, making a full like minute and a half long fully decorated level does take time.
Yeah, you're right.
So it would need to be a couple things. It would need to be a level that I feel is worthy of being made, and it would have to be a level that is worthy of being showcased in a series. You
I
know,
see.
it goes much more. It goes much more like beyond the idea of, well, do I just want to make a level and have it featured in the series? Because I don't operate that way. I operate very much like a what would there be a legitimate point to doing it? Um,
Mm.
I'm trying to be very intentional with this series. I want everything in here to be a very like planned out, strategically like laid out series of events. Um, and that's the process that I'm going through with the next episode. Is like what is going to be good enough to be shown while they're in this space. So full level is possible. It would just need to be a level that is worthy of being made for this series.
I see. Well, that makes sense, and I'm glad that there's like that open possibility because I'm totally can imagine like purple and green messing around the editor and trying to just make things work in even a 10-second level. Doesn't matter, but something that they just made and think that okay, this will be cool.
Mm-hmm.
Make some recent tab type stuff.
Well,
Hopefully
That's
it's not that bad.
Rate 5
Never.
stars to unlock 10 million moves.
Oh
Free
my
user
goodness.
coins, and they're all like the bronze ones.
That will be Green's idea for that title. I can totally see Green make it. Those
Their
kinds of
levels
things.
titled Wave Challenge, and it's just like a copy of Stereo Madness.
Dude,
Maybe.
true.
All right, that was an interesting response
Green
about it.
tries to
So,
put in like more than 3 user coins into the level so he can take them for himself, but he can't because the max is 3, and he gets all pissy.
oh my god, poor Green. All right, so Bruce, I think you're good to go.
All right, so this one is I don't know how you're gonna respond to this one, but in Alan Becker's animations, he tends to like recreate most of the UI like fully, so that the pixel resolution of it's very clear. And with Geometry Dash, that's way more difficult to do. And you've used like a mix of gameplay footage and like editing some stuff over it to make it like more clean, I've noticed. But do
Mm-hmm.
you have like plans to recreate even more stuff for your future episodes?
Yes. The simple answer is yes. The more complicated and probably less satisfying answer is just whatever I need to make is only what I will make for that moment. So a good example that I can pull up really quick is
Some of the stuff like looks fine like with the level you zoom it in, and so I guess like if it's like super up close, you'd recreate it, right?
no, for very specific things. I will keep the same game resolution um, because I think that having the slightly pixelated stuff in the background for close-ups is actually better because you know that the characters are what you should be looking at because they themselves are
Okay.
not pixelated. Um,
That's actually interesting. You could also like blur it a slight bit too.
I could,
Yeah.
but I feel like blurry pixelation would look worse than just being slightly pixelated. It would need to be
Mm.
something that I would try out. But if it ended up looking better, then that sacrifices consistency with previous episodes.
Yeah.
So
So
you think
it's a
that the game resolution just helped, even like uh, helps to make the difference, the contrast between what people should be seeing, which in this case is the characters, and the actual game in the background.
yeah. At least that's how I think of it, and I feel like if I saw somebody else make this and they provided me with that answer, I would feel like they would want me to understand where I'm coming from with it. It was like, oh yeah, that makes sense. You're supposed to be looking at the characters here. You don't really. It's kind of like if you guys have watched either of the Spider-Verse movies, like stuff that's in the
Right.
background that is blurred has like some more chromatic aberration going on, and I feel like that is like that version of it. It's kind of like if you do look at it, it looks a little bit weird, but when you're not focused on it, it looks fine.
Yeah.
And for the viewers, kind of going off of what Bush was talking about earlier, this on screen, this doesn't exist. And what I mean by that is there is a video that I had to record that is a static camera on the end wall here. This level complete thing, I had to place the coins in here manually. I had to put the level complete, attempt, jump, time, the orb and
It was a
stars.
lie.
All of this is something that I had to recreate. The footage of Purple beating the level and this thing popping down doesn't exist. So that's like one of those things that I had to manually recreate in order to get the shot that I wanted to happen.
Oh, that's crazy information you just dropped right there.
It's the length that you have to go to sell some like normal effect is it's
And
honestly
you had
quite
to get
baffling.
the opacity just right for the background too, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for
That
like
was
this black where it like mutes the what's behind it.
Question is it a very specific value or is it like a more predictable value?
It might have been. I think it was black, and it might have been on 75% visibility, so 25%
That sounds right.
invisibility.
So you're like coming back and forth with the game and comparing the assets and seeing if they just match up correctly.
Yeah, the process that I did was uh, I would get a 1920 by 1080 screenshot of what I needed from like the internet, or I would get the. I think actually what I did was I uh, beat a level on like the GD servers, like a user level, and then when this screen popped down, I screenshotted it, and so I was able to drag the assets on top of that screenshot and make sure they were placed and scaled perfectly.
Hmm. That's nice.
No wonder this took a year. Yeah, this took fucking forever, dude.
All right. So I guess I'm good to go now. Push.
You're good.
All right. I kind of want to ask this question because I earlier saw SJ compositions when we were talking about how purple and green were created if they were there before and such. He mentioned like making up lore. So this one doesn't have to associate that much with lore, but hear me out.
Mm-hmm.
So based on what little we have and we know about Stick and Dash, because I mean we already have only 2 episodes.
Yeah.
How far do you think the project will last? Like, is there any specific amount of episodes you want to make? Like, you want to separate it into seasons, or you perhaps have hidden Google Doc with the lore of the series in total. Like, let's say that the goal for the series is to for purple and green to beat Deadlock, for example.
Mm-hmm.
So is there like an end point to this series that you already have established, or you just keep going until you feel like you're gonna reach that point?
Okay. You've
All
asked
right, we
me
got
a
him.
very specific question, and in for my own safety, I will answer some of it. Um,
God damn it.
to be to be
They get eaten by a
brief,
club step demon.
to be brief, there is an endpoint planned, and I know what episode. I know how many episodes I want to do.
It'll
Whether
be when they find the One
that's
Piece, right?
yes, so it'll go on for 1,000 episodes. My grandkids will be taking up the mantle. They'll
The One
continue
Piece of
this.
animation.
No, so I've had a set number of episodes in my head for the past couple of years. Whether or not I'm able to stick to that is
Stick. Sorry.
get out.
I'm sorry.
Whether or not
Nice reference.
that ends up being the case, like the number that I've had planned, that's up in the air because that depends on the story. And I have a general idea of the story going forward. And so some things might need some more space in between them, and so it might end up with like an extra episode or two depending on what needs to happen, because I want to do. This goes back to like one of the first questions you asked. I want to have a cohesive story that you can watch all episodes from start to finish, and it essentially acts as a movie. Okay. Everything is connected with itself. Anything or the whole series is contained within the series itself. You don't need to go and like read some blog about it. There's no ARG with it. It's just
You gotta watch the two spin-off shows.
exactly. Yeah, I don't want
You
any
gotta
of
watch.
that. I
You
want a
gotta watch the new
whole
Spider-Man film.
I want a whole self-contained series, but within each of those episodes, I want a self-sustaining story, whether that's more major or minor to characters or to plot.
Alright,
Yeah.
that's great. Well, Bush, you're good to go.
All right, so it's very obvious that Green sucks at the game, right? But when he's fighting, he clearly has some proficiency in his nimbleness, his actions, whatever. And
Mm-hmm.
so, how come his fighting abilities don't translate into him having better gameplay abilities, I guess?
Well, gameplay is like being a good player is very much based off of your knowledge of the game and your ability to sight read what's coming up in front of you, right? During
Mm-hmm.
the entirety of the hundreds of attempts that Green did for practicing Stereo Madness, Purple also had the view of the whole level, and so
Oh, that's
Purple was
true. I
able
didn't
to
actually think
pick
about
up
that.
the notes of where Green failed and was able to do a very, very good first attempt along with the extra curveballs thrown at him, whereas Green was like he went in blindfolded. Purple had the sneak peek of
Kind
Green
of
being
like,
blindfolded.
kind of like Green's like the older brother, and like Purple's like the younger brother, right? They get to like see sort of like the mistakes and learn from what the other person did.
Yeah, Purple kind of pushed Green down the hole to see how deep the hole was, and then jumped in himself and
Yeah,
like
that's a different way to
landed.
put it, I guess.
Yeah.
Maybe it makes sense why he's so mad.
And like there's also the idea of like blind rage, where you're like so out of control of your normal self just because of how mad you are. That was also like part of the thought process was like he is so livid right now that he is just doing whatever he can to stop Purple's run out of jealousy.
He died at the last spike on Bloodbath.
Oh,
Now he's raging.
cries.
Damn,
He
that's
died on the
harsh.
creator text at the end of an Extreme Demon.
That was good.
So I hope that
Um,
answered your question.
yeah. Next question.
Uh, all right. So I think pretty much everyone here know that in the episode there's this really impressive 3D sequence that you made, and when I first saw it, I was like, "No way! Did he actually do this? Like, I cannot believe it." So, how did you create this impressive 3D sequence? Because that was something that still felt like GD, but just like a step beyond. And was, I mean, it felt right to also look at it.
Well, first off, thank you. That's awesome to hear that it like worked within the context of GD and the story. I really appreciate that because that part wasn't planned until I got there production wise, and I was like, oh, there needs to be something else here.
Kind of hit like a truck when it started.
Good. That was the intention. It was supposed to be like, oh wait, what's happening? Like focus.
That was when my jaw dropped, and I was like, okay, this is getting real.
Yeah, it also caught me off guard. I was just seeing like it is based on a 2D space, and then you just see these 3D things going on. You just were like, what?
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
it was like it was actually an Alan Becker like animation. Like I couldn't tell the
Yeah,
difference
yeah,
at
yeah,
that
yeah.
point.
It felt like Alan Becker's doing.
So the could you remind me what the question was again for me, please?
How was to make these? How did you create this 3D sequence?
So it was really fun, actually. It was. I wouldn't say it's what I had the most fun doing, but I think it's like one of the most unique parts about the episode, and I hid it from like the only people that knew I was doing this was my girlfriend and the two friends that I was working on the other animation project with.
Oh,
Like only 3 other people knew I was working on it. Uh,
Yeah, I didn't
and
even have a clue.
I in my Discord server I have a spoilers channel where people can request access to see like behind the scenes snippets of whatever it is I'm working on. I didn't post anything about it in there. Like I wanted it to be everybody's surprise. It was a very intentional decision for it. And
and you totally achieved that.
yeah, thank you. Um And I guess I can go to part of it right now on screen. So I wanted it to be very much within the head, like the mind of Green, because this whole sequence I nicknamed like everything is structured out in a scene. This is the scene is called Vision, for obvious reasons. And I think, Callium, I think the reason that you might think that this still feels like GD is because of what the structure is that's here on screen. This is a very intentional jab, I guess, a very intentional like location for it to happen. And the theme of like comparing yourself and like comparison is the thief of joy was definitely like a mantra that I kept telling myself during this part, because I think a lot of people who play GD are very susceptible to comparing themselves to other people, whether it's like players like, oh, I can't beat this level, I'm very bad, or man, I was hoping that I was going to get some creator points for this level, but apparently I'm not good enough for that. Like, it is very much like a lot of parts about GD are based off of comparing yourself to others. And so this was kind of my way of like sneaking that into Green's character arc in this episode. Because that is a very real thing that I think a majority of players have to go through when they do play this game, whether they intend for it to happen or not. And I don't think anyone really intends for it to happen.
Oh, wow, this was a pretty good answer in my opinion. And wow, yeah, you're absolutely right. We sometimes just put ourselves in a comparison, like in a yeah, in that situation where we try to compare to someone that is even higher up in terms of creativity, in terms of skill.
Mm-hmm.
And
And
yeah,
like
that's
I
true.
can speak to that twice now. Like Deep Vine Pass and Floodfall Caverns, my two like big art slash story levels that I've got going on alongside. Uh, a lot of the comments are like, "Man, this looks like Rafer. Wow, this looks like Rafer. Rafer would be proud." And this animation, a lot of the comments are, "Man, Alan Becker would be proud. I thought this was an Alan animation." Like, I am 100% going through what Green is going through in this scene. Like, it is a very real thing that just doesn't stop with people. And
You know, you could kind of like visualize it as like they're the two halves of you, they're the two halves of your color, you know.
yeah, and like that is very much an intentional choice for them to be my two colors, not only because they're like my favorite color combination, but it's because like this these characters should represent whoever is watching them, whether you relate to one more than the other or not. That is up to you, because they each will have their own experiences that they go through. So one of them you're bound to have like more of a draw to. Like Callium, you identify more with purple.
Yeah, that's
that you
fair.
said earlier. So
Yeah.
it really just depends on what everyone experiences in their own life. And if you've experienced comparing yourself to other people that you view as better, then you have something to relate yourself to green with. And I think that
I'm
that's
definitely,
touching.
I'm definitely green.
You're green. There you go. We have both purple and green in voice chat right now. It's confirmed.
Yeah, let me do the wiggling of the arms right now. I'm
when
doing
when
it.
the when the Netflix adaptation starts, you guys will play them.
All right. I'm absolutely down for it.
The live action adaptation, which misses the entire point.
Yeah, you guys will wear
Yeah, what?
morph suits for hours on end a day.
Oh god, no, I don't want it
They'll
anymore.
build Geometry Dash in real life, and we'll have to like avoid like dying in real life.
Yeah, there you go. It's all blue screen. That's why the editor's blue
Yeah.
after all. They knew there was going to be a movie about it.
Damn, bruh. Yeah, that was a wonderful answer, to be honest, and a very reflexive one also. So, chat, pay attention, and reflect. All right, so I guess both you're yet again good to go.
All right. Will you make the stick figures play Gravitation Surge?
Probably not play. If anything, they'll have to go to it in order to find something else, like a goose chase.
They try to press the play button, it falls apart, and it's like, yeah, let's not go in there.
Yeah, they press the play button and then it like turns opposite hues and then flies away, and then that's the
The
end of
game
it.
just like crashes and they have to reopen because it's buggy.
Oh my god.
Oh, that is something that I do want to mention. They will not go outside of the realm of the game. They will not go back to the desktop at all.
They should like boot up Minecraft and they start like trying to like beat Geometry Dash with like Minecraft.
Yeah, like the
So you're saying they're
game.
gonna stick there for a long time?
Yes, the series will 100% take place within the availability of the game, right? And like the world that the game can offer. They're not going to
They'll
go
have to
outside
free
of it to
the
go get something else from Minecraft or Henry. Like that's not going to happen. They're
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 gonna have to
there.
free
They're
the
there for good.
they're gonna have to free the demon guy from 2.1.
Yeah, true.
That's awesome.
But no, they will not.
Uh,
They probably will not play Gravitation Surge.
That gives me a mini question. Will they do the dash spider part?
That's my comment.
Okay.
all right.
Callium, you're next.
All right. Well, I would like to ask this one because the remainder of the questions are like pretty much straightforward. So, uh, I mean, we're seeing that purple and green are seem like alone at the moment with the and interacting with the game itself, with the objects and everything. But is there any chances, any possibility that you can like you're gonna add any cameo like Easter eggs within the series, like you maybe are gonna make a player profile show up somewhere, or maybe an icon of that player, or maybe an in-game reference to an important event that occurred in the community, or any reference to someone or maybe something.
I would love to. I have ideas. As far as what those ideas are, I cannot disclose them. Uh, but I will say that, and this is how I'll end me talking about this question. I'm in contact with some people about it,
You're
seeing
outstanding.
seeing what could happen.
Oh, I'm getting the hype already. Because imagine if you're just focusing watching the series and the episode, and then you just get a glimpse of something that it drags your attention and say, "Wait a minute, I know this."
Mm-hmm.
Oh my god,
It's
I'm
one
already
thing to
hyped.
have like let's say there's a guest appearance from somebody, but it
Oh,
is another thing to have like I don't know. What if purple goes and plays like white space? Right? Like I feel like
Oh.
I would need to go ask permission from the creators to showcase the level, right?
Yeah,
I
yeah.
definitely want to, like I said earlier, I want to be very intentional with what I do, and I want to make sure that I'm
Right.
not infringing on anyone else's like creative, um,
Yeah, right,
creative
right.
journey
That's
and
right.
whatnot. Like I don't want to include anything that I'm not allowed to include,
Yeah.
based on other people's requests and recommendations.
You don't want to have the secret where it's just the entire Q-Burst trilogy copy and paste into a level.
Exactly. Like that would very much like undermine it. And I if there is any sort of thing like that, I'm going to do my best to make it worth showing. And that's
Right.
all I'll
That's
say
really
on
cool. I'm really hyped right now. I can't wait to see more episodes of this series.
it. I'm
Really
excited to keep
cannot.
going. I'll tell you. Yesterday I got some of the story stuff worked out, and oh, you guys are gonna love it. You guys are gonna love it. I'm so excited to show you guys when
Same
it's good.
already. You're like that phrase that no rest for the wicked.
No, no rest. The grind doesn't stop.
Oh sheesh.
No, take breaks from what you're working on if you need to. I don't feel like I need to right now, so
Well, dude, that's awesome. All right, Bush. May go ahead.
All right. Do you think Alan Becker or Rob Top will ever see your animation?
so what's really funny about that question is a couple days ago on Twitter, I very impulsively said, "Hey, at RobTop Games, do you like my GD animation?" and then put a link to it, and I haven't heard a response yet.
Okay, bro.
Because I've seen people do that, but with like, "Hey RobTop, how do you like my custom icon kit?" Or like, "Do you think you could add these into 2.3?" And it's like a page of like 10 icons or something, and he's responded to those. So I'm like,
You should like
I'm
ping
gonna
him
try
on
that.
Twitter.
Yeah.
Ping him on Twitter and be like, "You want to hang out tonight?"
Damn, bro.
And then what's funny about Alan is that a couple of weeks ago, Alan has a production manager, and his name is Hatena360, and he's like really focused on stick figure animations and stuff. And currently, he's the production manager for Alan's team. He hosted a live stream where you could submit your animations for him to give notes on,
Oh,
and
wow.
I sent in, and this happened before episode 2 even came out, but I sent in both episode 1 and the first 3 minutes of episode 2, and he like looked at it and gave me notes. And
Oh,
so I took
that's
his notes and used them and touched up episode 2 before it went out, like a few days later. So Alan might not have seen this, but his production manager has seen some of it, and that's confirmed.
That is really cool.
and that's something.
That is
And
something.
maybe that guy can just show it to Alan later.
Maybe. Who knows?
Suppose. Yeah, who knows? That's actually great.
We'll see what happens. But it would be great to see like some sort of acknowledgement, you know? I'm obviously like if it doesn't happen, it doesn't happen, and that's fine. But you know,
Yeah,
it'd be cool.
that's awesome. All right, I guess I'm good to go now.
You are good.
All right. Next question. Will the stick figures play any platformer levels? Like, do you plan on making them interact with the online aspect of the game?
Or it could be the tower, like rock top levels.
Yeah,
the
or
first
Yeah.
that
one.
also.
I think at some point they will have to go through the tower. And I have a couple of things planned. If I'm able to get that part to work, I would like it if I could find a way for it to work. Excuse me, for them
Questions,
to be able to go through the tower.
would they be in the cube form, or would they be themselves going through the platform levels?
I don't know yet. I don't know yet. That's something that's one of those things that I'm like toying with. Uh, I don't know yet, and I think I won't know for a little while. Um, for the second half of that question about like community and like the online aspect,
Yeah.
I am still trying to figure out what kind of aspect they would interact with. So it's not a no, it is a I would need to make it make sense. I would need to make it worth putting in, essentially. Because them going into, like, the recent tab and just playing levels, like, that's fun, but it's also kind of been done before a lot. Like, just people going in and playing recent tab levels.
In real lives challenge.
Yeah. Unless, like, the... It could be a thing where it's like, oh, you have... like, hypothetically speaking, like, they go into the like Scratch's shop, and they can only get something if they beat a specific gauntlet in a certain amount of time or something like that, and they like barely get it, and so they're able to get this other item. Like, there would have to be like some sort of like narrative bonus to it as well.
They get addicted to gambling because you had loot boxes.
Yeah, they go down into like the treasure room.
That's awesome.
They're able to just like
Imagine
slip
the
in through the
interactivity.
keyholes. They don't need the keys because they're sticks, and they can just fit through.
Yeah. And then like Green falls into like a depressive spiral where he just keeps like doing this.
It's funny that it would be green. It totally would be green.
Yeah.
I mean, let's be honest here. We all know that Green is that kind of guy.
Hey, you know what?
He's that guy.
That tells me that I characterize them differently, and that's good. I did a decent job of making them unique people.
Alright, that's awesome. How about that? You can go ahead, Dush.
Alright, so this one's kind of just broad. How do you feel about the success so far of the animation?
Oh, I am incredibly surprised. Oh my goodness.
What did you like anticipate like it to be?
Okay, so episode 1 had 2 versions released, right? Before episode 2 came out, the first
Dude, it got like
version,
14K views like since I last saw it.
yeah. So the first version, which is the outdated version, was sitting at like 900 views, and the more updated version was sitting at like 600 views, right?
Mm-hmm.
Since episode 2 came out, the proper version of episode 1 is now like nearing 4,000 views.
It's at 14,000.
What?
Yeah, I just looked at it. It's at 14,000.
Oh my god, no way.
I was like, I thought I was looking at it wrong.
No way. I'm thrilled that
You're still being surprised, even
yes, because like I was anticipating, I was hoping that episode 2 would do better than episode 1, like because there's a lot more substance to it. There's like an actual like story going on. There's a character arc. There's like plot structure to it. Like there was definitely a lot more pre-production that went into this episode compared to episode 1. And I think that that's fairly obvious. I did not expect episode 2 to currently be sitting at close to 300,000 views.
And he might keep going. He might keep rising.
It's not stopping. It's at a consistent like increase in views. it hasn't stopped, and that's
I think
thrilling.
yeah, I think you're not only reaching people that play the game, you're also reaching animators, you're also reaching people that like this type of stuff.
Yeah, it's I don't want to use the word targeting because that feels like it was an intentional decision, but it's like it's getting to a bunch of different groups of people, whether or not they overlap. Like, there are fans of Alan Becker, sure. There's fans of
Hmm.
Geometry Dash. There's fans of indie animation. Like,
Right.
there are a few subsets of people that it's reaching, and I think the majority of the people are just people who want to see more unique GD stuff. Um, but like myself, I fit into all three of those categories that I specified. And I know for a fact I'm not the only one who has overlap of all three of those categories. And so I think a lot of the views come from those people. And I think that this is. Excuse me. I think that this video is my most shareable video. I think it's really easy for someone to see this and send it to a friend and be like, "Yo,
That's true.
look at this video I just watched."
Yeah, I think that's true, and also because of the fact that it's not only because it is Geometry Dash, but because Geometry Dash is already a popular game that everyone played at some point, even the light version. So I think a lot of people will recognize that. Oh my God, this is like the Alan Baker series, but with Geometry Dash. That's so cool.
Yeah, it is absolutely a combination of two things that maybe a lot of people didn't know that they wanted but now know that they want in the future, and I think that that is why in the past week I have gained 1,500 subscribers.
Yeah.
Like
What's
Oh,
earlier today I crossed 5,000 subscribers. Earlier today, when I released
that's
episode 1, I had 3.5k. Now I have 5k in a week.
that's crazy.
So to answer your question, Bush, I could not be happier with the reception and attention it's getting. It is so thrilling to see
Yeah.
that this is something that a lot of people wanted, whether they knew they wanted or they didn't know. And I'm willing to bet a lot of people didn't know that they wanted something like this until they saw it. Um,
Hmm.
and I couldn't be happier. I'm so happy with the reception and the positive messages that people are sending, and even though it is leading a lot of people to like compare me to other things that already exist, I think that that's just how creativity works. Like, you take two things that haven't been combined before and you combine them, and that's your own original idea.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I think what's also crazy is that the teaser trailer is sitting at almost 2,000 views.
Yeah, I would like to keep making those. That one was so fun to edit. I had so much fun making that one.
Yeah,
That's
nothing beating your short Henry Stickmin animation and pea shooter idle firing animation at like 3,000 then.
Yeah, yeah, true. I hope that the trailer gets some more views. And what I'm gonna go into that a little bit because it's not really a good point to mention this later on when I like go through the film. There is a single like half a second shot from the vision scene, and no
Huh?
one commented on it. Not a single person acknowledged that, like, wait, why is the background black here? Where is green? Why is he in this thing?
Oh.
No one
mm,
caught it, and I was like, okay, good. It will still surprise everybody.
Oh, I see it. That's actually it's in there. What?
Yeah,
It's at 100 or no, what that? 1 minute and 3 seconds.
yeah, I snuck in just like a little bit in there, and no one called it out. And that made me really excited because then it's like, ooh, this will still like very much be a surprise, which was what I was going for. That's why it's at the end. That's why it's like only a quarter of a second long. Like,
I forgot about the airship teaser trailer. That one got like 3,000. I was also surprised at that. I remember when that one came out.
yeah, that one was fun to make.
And
Because that
the
was all
main
made
level
in the
actually got a lot
editor.
of views too.
Like, that's a
Yeah,
level that
I
I
remember that.
did. Yeah.
All right. Is it your turn, Callum?
Uh, yes, okay, if it is. Well, before the actually asking, I mean, we, Bush and I are so sure that you're just so happy with the project, and we're also proud of your work. I mean, I personally am. I just after I saw the video, I was like, damn, that's my friend.
Thank you.
Yeah. I
I've been
mean,
gassing you up to everyone I know.
yeah, I feel like whoever can just talk me about this, I could just go and say, you know this? Well, my friend did it, and you don't. I would say something like that.
I know this guy. This is my friend.
Yeah, I knew this guy before he was so popular. I knew it. I was there. Always have been.
I won't forget you guys when I'm off funding my own studio. Don't worry.
All right. Okay.
You can hire me, Jer.
Yeah.
Yes.
All right. Well, so continuing with the rolling questions. If you had to estimate how many hours total did you spend creating this project?
Oh, I don't even want to think about it.
I mean, you can guess.
Is it more than I have on Fortnite?
What's the amount of hours? 0?
It's over 2,000.
I wouldn't say it's over 2,000 hours.
Is it close to the amount of hours you have played Minecraft?
No, not even close. Because I've been playing Minecraft
Yeah.
like ever since it came out. So
If I
Damn,
could
we
see
can get
the
some
amount
sense
of
of scale
hours,
then.
if I could see the amount of hours I had on Minecraft, I'd probably cry, like thinking about how much time I've lost in my life.
true. For every hour you play it in Minecraft, you take one step. So it's an answer. It's a question that I can't provide like a guaranteed answer for, but I will say that there were times when I wouldn't work on this for like 3 weeks to a month at a time, and then I would grind out work like 14 to 16 hour days for a week straight. I was very much in, like completely diving headfirst into working on it, and then I wouldn't touch it because I would need to focus on school, and then I had free time one evening, and so I like did 2 hours of work, and then I would wake up the next day and be like, man, that was so fun, I want to keep doing that. And then so I continued doing it for a few days, and then I would really need to focus on something else. So I really like wavered in and out, but when I was in, and when I was out for a little while.
That's something I have to deal with too. Like I'm like enthusiastic to work on projects, but if I have like school or work, then I just like lose my motivation sometimes.
See, I never lost motivation. It just was like other things needed to happen.
Yeah, and that's what I
That's
mean.
good.
Actually.
So like I never lost motivation to work on this, and like my enthusiasm for continuing this project has only gone up since I've started working on this episode.
Right.
So I can't give a solid hour count, but just know that it is probably like, I wouldn't say it's nearing 1,000, but I would say it's between.
It's on the hundreds.
Yes, 100%. It is between like 500 to 1,000 hours.
Oh wow, impressive. All right, well, so that leaves. Well, I think so far we've been asking a lot of questions, but none of them I think will seem like it's the main thing to just ask. Like Jay, so I was discussing with both like, what should we be asking Jay that it's a question that should be just so high top to leave it at last, and also to take in consideration the chat that everyone could be expecting this big question. So, well, I mean, I get your, I think you get me, right?
Yeah.
So we leave this last big question, and of course, who else than Bush to order to ask
All
it?
right. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Because I'm
You
nervous to
ready,
ask it.
chat?
All right, Jay. Will you actually ban me if I draw you as an anime girl again?
100%.
No.
There it is.
Geometry dash.
Rip headphone users.
Uh, Excellent. That's so cool. Will you though? Will you actually ban him?
Ban? Probably not. Timeout? Absolutely.
Listen, can I have one free pass to draw you as an anime girl?
Well, it sounds like you already did because earlier you used the word again.
Well, I did draw it once, like years ago, but I've gotten
Yup,
better.
you're
now.
banned. Have a good night.
No, you're banned.
Let's actually let chat decide. Chat, would you
Yes,
like
chat.
to see Jay as an anime girl or not?
Does
You can
chat
actually
give me
make
the pass?
actually a poll.
I feel
It's
like
not
I would
Twitch.
need to do a
Okay.
face reveal in order for it to, like, feel natural, though.
No, I don't think.
What?
Enderblade's got my
Guys.
back. Let's go.
No.
I
No,
don't want
listen.
that
It's
image.
not gonna be.
Yeah.
It's not gonna be. It's not gonna be your anime woman sexy. It's gonna be. It's gonna be. It's gonna be very modest. She. She's gonna be a very reserved, kind person, and you're gonna look. She's gonna let you want to be her friend, and it'll be a very nice, beautiful, cute artwork.
I'm
If I am permitted.
explicitly telling you, do not gender bend my ass.
What if what if it's an alternate universe you and it's unrelated to the current universe you. It's not being gender bent. It's like a different timeline, like Spider Gwen, you know?
Yeah. Think about it, Jay. Think about it.
Oh, I've thought about it. You know
No,
my
it
answer.
looks like you haven't given it the proper thought. At least not enough.
Well, just take a seat. Let me ease your. I don't know. Listen, the fact is, it's as Thanos would say, it's inevitable. I can't guarantee when it will happen. I can't guarantee how it will happen, but there may be a drawing that comes into production, comes to fruition, and I just hope when the time comes you'll forgive me and you'll be able to cleanse me of my sins.
You do not have my consent.
Worth
Listen,
mention, I'm here just as an observer. I have nothing to do with it, but I approve it.
Anyways, do you
Yeah.
guys have any other questions for me, or was that the last one?
Well, that was the main official question, but I have to ask. I've never conducted an interview before. I was very excited to do this. What do you think?
I think you guys did great. You guys did a really good job. I appreciate you guys being patient with my answers and receptive to my answers. I think you guys did a really good job of keeping track, and we'll do the same thing for episode 3 probably. How about that?
That sounds very good. And Spicy Taco was giving me that he would want to possibly be a part of a host in the future. So maybe, possibly,
Maybe.
Yeah,
he could join on the interview.
We'll see. Maybe I'll have like Alkali or Rafer on next time along with you guys.
Oh,
Who
shoot,
knows?
that'd be actually
that would be
cool.
nice. That would be really nice.
Let's get some-
Unfortunately, I don't think
Get some
I don't
community
think I'll
members
make
on.
it for the.
Huh?
Yeah, as I was saying, I don't think I'll make it for the other half of the stream.
Okay.
I'm gonna have to go do something, but
Yeah, me too.
I will watch later and see what
Okay.
I had to say.
Yep.
Yeah.
Sounds good. Do you guys have anything else that you'd like to say to chat or to me before you
Any
guys
final
sign off
words as we get banished to the chat room,
to the ether?
being promoted to chatter. Um,
I am
now
Gallium.
yeah, he's Callium. I'm Bush. The catchphrase, and we're blasting off again. Wahoo!
Excellent. All right. Take care, Jay. Enjoy the rest of your stream. Chat. Be safe. Drink water. And I don't know. I am Gallium.
Use Callium.
Bye bye.
Thank you. All right. That was Callium and Bush, and they did a wonderful job. Give it up for them. Good job, guys. I appreciate you guys making time and coming over, asking me, preparing me questions. It was really great. So, with that being said, we're going to watch my animation. And I'm going to give some insider knowledge. I have some files prepared already that you guys will get to see here in a little bit. Just give me 1 second while I make sure that nothing is spoiled. Okay, yep, got the right ones. Are we the people in the chairs then? Yes, you guys are on. I am trying to pull up a bunch of things quick. At least I'm trying to remember where they are. I recently just redid a little bit of my file structure to be a little bit more, a little bit better. People on the inside, yeah. All right, chat. The floor is open to you guys while I go through. So, to start, I'm going to get the background music turned down just a little bit. So, one thing that I really was looking forward to having was a previously on section. This is something that I want to do with every episode, is have a part that you can watch, because installments take a while to make, especially being done by one person. Oh, nice. Good job, Bush. So I wanted to have a previously on section that would perfectly encapsulate the greatest hits of episode 1. Ideally, by the time that whatever next episode comes out, you're pretty familiar with the events of the previous episode or episodes from here on out. And so I figured, what are the best moments of episode 1? Gotta show them, like, hey, let's go do something. Here's something that they go do. Here's the other thing they go do. And this is, like, my favorite part of episode 1. I thought that part was so funny. So I had to keep it in. You can see the old method of doing smears where I had, like, duplicates. I don't do that anymore going forward. This blur technique I still do. I do this gradient. This is how I do motion blur with them. Here's another example. Green's arms. Just like this. Gets blasted by the icon. Had to show that they have some sort of interaction with the game. And then this as well. They go into the normal thing. Gotta make sure that we get the shot of Green seeing the coins. Because that was definitely one of the biggest events. I would argue it's probably like the main event of episode 2 is that, like, the coins really come into play. I use the coins as, like, the majority of the advertising. Coins were definitely important for the story. showing off a cool effect. Just because. I think doing this effect was like the beginning of my love of doing effects, actually, because I had so much fun making that. Gotta figure out how to do that on Krita. The gradients, you mean? The way that I do them is I have every color that I draw with has a separate like color channel. And so I have one that is green on both ends of the gradient, and then just one end is at like 100% or 0% opacity. So it's just green from invisible green, and I can go in, I can draw the shape that I want and then dictate what the start point of the gradient is and the end point of the gradient is. So green gets selected, gets bumped into Stereo Madness. And then a really fun thing that I set up a couple of years ago was I had a copy of this scene, and I copied it over and I deleted the entire film up until this frame, and then I dragged all the layers to the beginning of the timeline, and so I essentially just started animating where I had left off. And then we see Purple freak out, fall to the ground. Something really interesting about this, like this part right here, this whole thing where he's freaking out. Like this whole thing, and then when he falls, these smears. This was all animated by me, obviously, but I did it with a mouse. I didn't do it on my drawing tablet. And the reason for that is because I brought my laptop over to my girlfriend's apartment because I needed help studying for an exam that I had. Art history is very hard for me to comprehend. Very hard for information to stick. Haha. And I think I was staying at her place for like a couple days in a row, and I had my computer and I really didn't want to study it, and so I started working on this. So the very first part of episode 2 was done out of procrastination. And I think even like this movement too, I think this was done in her apartment. So we got to set up a little bit more user interaction. I originally didn't have this part where he like puts both, like a hand on each thing and like rubs, but I had a version earlier where he just like looked up, he looked at it, and then it jumped to here, where he like took the steps back. The part where he went up, rubbed his hands on it, if I can get there. This part didn't exist, but it was just really weird for him to look at this without this, and then look at it and be like, oh, let me try to run up it. That was always planned. I always wanted that, because I thought that was funny. But I needed to add the part where he put his hands up there in order to establish that he can make contact with it. So it kind of helped further where they're at, like in terms of capability and what they're able to interact with. And then when he gives this like, what can I do with this? And then he looks up, it helps to give a sense of what he's about to do. So that when he jumps, it makes sense that he jumps. But then, oh yeah, there's a smear. But then when he gets hit, it's like, oh! What happened? This new best, this didn't get put in until like a couple days before the episode released. I completely forgot to add it in. But the progress bar says 1%, and every time you get a new percentage, a higher percentage value, you get the new best message. But I forgot to put it in. So they actually exist on a 3D plane. Yeah, kind of. It's 3D when I need it to be 3D. It's a little bit rule breaky, but it's in service of the story, the plot. Congratulations on the success of the second episode. Thank you. Thank you, thank you. Respect set to 150. Oh, because of the mouse? Yeah. Yeah, that was done with a mouse. This shot was also done. It was done in slow-mo, very low frame rate. But like a week before the episode went up, I looked at it and I was like, I don't like this anymore. So I changed it, and so this is actually kind of rigged. It's like rigged animation, a little bit of puppet movement. Gotta show that green is in charge. And then right when the spike comes into play, we teleport a little bit back in time, as you can see. Spike's so close to him, and yet it's so far away here. And this movement that purple does, that falling was really fun to do. I guess right there's an instance of the doubles. I think that's the last time it happened, though. Mocap stick animation one? It happens later. I'll get into it when it happens. Oh, the particles. I was really happy about these particles. So anytime there's a impact, like an impact with some meat to it, there's these particles that show up right here. And the camera moves, so it's a little bit weird with it, but you can see them. Like, they do happen. And I knew that I wanted to do that from the beginning. It only happens once they get into the game. And I feel like that kind of grounds them more into the world. Mocap wasn't used, but some other form of animation was used later on. It's pretty soon upcoming, and I'll be sure to point it out when it happens. I was so glad I remembered this, because I was like, oh, that will help introduce the viewers to how the game is supposed to be played too. So like they're learning, and new viewers who don't know anything about GD will also learn. And that was a big goal of this first episode, was teach them how to play the game, but do it in a way that allows for new viewers to learn how the game operates as well. Which is why you see both normal mode and practice mode being used. And why it's like part of, like, it's like the crux of the plot points that happen is using normal mode or using practice mode to get better so that normal mode can be played, and establishing that both of them exist. But I was really happy when I saw this message came up while dying to the spike. I was like, oh my god, I forgot about that. That's perfect. Jumps over the first spike, gets happy. Oh, this orb. This orb was the start of this animation getting really serious. So you guys are your respect for me might go up a little bit when you hear this. This orb. Anytime a new best comes up, is me adding that into my animation software. I had to place this, I had to scale this at the same frame by frame rate that it like bounces in and out of. But this orb, I did not delete my progress on my computer. And so anything that would happen on the first attempt of someone who just downloaded the game, I had to add in later, like the new best text. This orb, along with all of the particles that come from it, I animated. These particles did not exist when recording the footage. I had to animate. I had to put every particle in there. Scale them, time them, all that. And this orb is on a rig. One of them has a constant velocity of going to the left. The other one has the vertical modifiers. That stop I did hand by hand. Those particles I added. That was done frame by frame as well, the scaling. I got footage. I imported a video of footage of me collecting an orb. And then I scaled everything, and I got the particles pretty much the same. I did take some creative liberties with it to make it a little bit unique. So like right here, the orb is normal. Right here, there are some motion lines, and right there, the orb stretches with more motion lines. So it's adding just a little bit of like me in there, really making it unique to me. One of those instances where it like breaks the game, but it breaks it in a natural way. Purple's like, huh. Oh crap, he's playing. Both of those orbs, I traced all those. Both of them. Hand done. Hand done. Yeah, you're getting it! Okay, I gotta go support him. The shot. Ugh. That dance took like 2 days alone to do. That dance took forever. And the reason it only took 2 days, and this is the other animation thing that I did. This is rotoscoped. I filmed myself doing this dance, and I imported it into the software and rotoscoped myself. So if you guys thought that it looked a little bit too smooth, that's why. This is actually me dancing. Lost media. I have the video, but I'm not going to show it because I want to dox myself. Maybe at some point, maybe later down the line. But that's really dancing. Which I think is really fun to know. Has to gain balance. There's some particles there. Oh shit, he's getting to the part where he died last time. He's gonna do it? Oh yeah, he's fine. I love this joke. And it kind of goes a little bit over people's heads, I think. I think it's more of like a what the heck just happened moment, but I think it's funny. Because the pause before it is like, oh, something's about to happen. It's like the perfect amount of pause. What made you choose rotoscoping over reference? Just to make sure it was accurate. I also wanted to try my hand at rotoscoping because I had never really done it before. And so it felt like a natural way to stick it in. Pun not intended. Green manages to not get fooled by the spike. But I like to think that the reason that that's the case is because each jump is a separate click from him. And so this was one of those things that I had to re-record in order to get right. Was he has to land on the edge of the blocks so that when he falls, he does that fifth jump. He was planning on jumping here, but he just jumped late, and so he was lucky enough to not jump into the spike, but he still jumped anyway. Meanwhile, he's a little bit hard to see, but purple light gets up from him falling and like cracks his back. He kind of blends in with the background, but I think that makes for like a subtler joke. And then we get to this. This was a very high contender for being the thumbnail. But I think coming off of episode 1, it makes a lot more sense to see green as the cube, since that is the first thing that people see when they boot up Stereo Madness is the cube and not the ship. It felt like much more of like an immediate follow-up for the thumbnail. So he like learns how to control a ship. You just finished your live stream? Welcome. Hello. It does kind of reminisce the game icon. I didn't even put that together. Nice. This little accident. So green's like going. Oh, that effect was really fun. Hang on, let me go back to that. So I have a newfound love of doing effects, like as of a year ago or so. I think it contributed to the success, so that's good to know. So if we go frame by frame, there's a little squiggle, some lightning. He flashes white with green glow. Black for impact. And then he falls. Now that circular effect is based off of the same effect that happens when an icon goes through a gameplay portal. Because if you notice, the portal is always purple. But when you touch it, it turns white. And then fades back to its normal color. And I wanted to mimic that over here with like the exiting effect, because you still technically in a weird roundabout way, are changing game modes. You're just coming out of a game mode, and so I still had that portal effect consistently there. Rage quit, which I think is something that's very relatable. Had to have him rage. Practice mode. Oh, the lighting. The lighting. I should talk about the lighting. So, this was done purely in 2D. This whole film was 2D. This was done thanks to gradients. So all this is one color, technically, in terms of my animation software. And it starts at this yellow. It goes to a more faded magenta, and then it goes to the default purple. And then the tone, the shadow color, is purely drawn on by me frame by frame. And you might be able to see a little bit of the jitteriness with it if I like cycle through a couple of frames. But I really was like, let's do accurate lighting right here. And his head feels like it's like above his body, which was really fun to see when it first happened. Like, oh man, that works. And so like you can see his hand is now in front of his head. Now it's behind it, and then right here he's back to his normal color. And there's the gradient that I like doing for motion blur. That teleport's so good. I had a lot of fun doing the effects for this because I really wanted this to be something that would encourage viewers to go through everything frame by frame. Like, the thought of people going through this frame by frame was definitely, like, a desire of mine. So I put a lot of things in there that I wanted people to, like, call out. And this is one of them, was this effect. Like, this drawing of the white flash, it's only on screen for a single frame, but there's so much detail that had to go into it in order to achieve the effect. It was a lot. There's more particles. Dude, you got 43%. That's pretty good. I want to go back to this, where it pulls out of his head. Because it looks like purple just, like, forces it out, and we've got a couple of really good smears in there with the gradient and the squash and stretch. Did I smear this in the middle? I did. It's wider right there. I completely forgot I did that. Don't even notice it. I've got some popcorn right now, so if you hear me fumbling around, that's what it is. I got to light green up here too. That was fun. Using a nice cool greenish blue for the tone. It was fun. Also, I only had to do like one frame of it. Because purple moves while being lit. Green doesn't move. And then there is just a single frame of in between where it's like halfway there, halfway not. Fine. My voice reminds you of The Odd Ones Out. Interesting. When does purple become Springtrap from FNAF? It's canon. I'll make it canon. I'll reach out to Scott. Ah. The shot. Hey, Shadowian. So, my wonderful friend, J.R. Seal, composed music for this. I explicitly reached out to him. I was like, hey, I need a Stereo Madness motif for this, like, conversation, explanation, plan part. Do you think you could do this? And they were like, absolutely. This part took a long time to make sure it made sense. It took surprisingly long. I think, like, 3/4 of the way through doing this, I don't want to say I lost interest or, like, lost the motivation, but it was just like, I need to take a break from this. I'll come back to this at a different time when I'm in a different headspace. And I'm really glad I did that, because that break helped me, like, settle my thoughts down on it for a while. And it made it more clear of what I needed to do. And I think it's very clear what's being told here, but that might just be, like, my personal bias. It's like, hey, you might die, but practice mode has checkpoints. So we can do that. But I want to give it a shot doing it in normal mode. See if we can get the coins. And we have coins. We have our reward for doing it. Teamwork. I don't want them. Oh, that was a fun movement to do for purple. And this kind of goes into what I was talking about earlier, but green is so snappy that we jump from, like, this pose. We have 2 frames of, like, a lead up, and then we have this, like, really extreme pose. And so we have this moment where, like, green is at this resting place, but purple is reacting to him. So the character that has the higher movement has to still be bound by this connection point of the stiffer movement. And so that was really fun to do. Purple could only move as much as green allowed him to move. So, like, their hands are the anchor point, and I had to animate purple around this anchor point, which was pretty complex, but it was a very fun type of complexity. Purple, his arm's down, it's up, it's down, it's got this S bend, and it really makes this really fun effect of him being, like, a little bit wiggly. Get off of me. Green is a very extremely quick mover. Very snappy. I love it. I love the difference in animation. We can do this, but afterwards, we're done. Quick game. Okay. Okay. Alright, let's go. Yay! He just jumps headfirst into it. I love it. Click. if you guys notice where this effect is at the same spot where he clicks. That was a very, very conscious thing I had to be aware of. Which is like, he gets teleported into the spot where he clicks. He doesn't like teleport into the middle of the button. And same thing with green. He like shows the little bit of like hesitation. Like look at that jump. It's a really big jump, but it works. Ah, lovely. Very fun effects. Beep beep. And then the glow from green teleporting in lights up purple as well over here. Which is very fun to have happen. Particles. That was like one of the first spots I actually added the particles. Callium's favorite part. Wanted to mirror the shot in episode 1 a little bit. He knows what he's getting into, because he's kind of already done it. I want to talk about this a little bit, actually. Green, flying up this time. He's in the air a lot shorter than in episode 1. Also, I updated this effect to be a lot like cleaner. But he's in the air a lot shorter this time because we don't need to see him fly around again. It would just be too much for no reason. Just kind of like get to the point already. So I made that shorter. Also, a little fun thing that I added was this little line of lightning that you can see. That is based off of the effect, the in-game effect. Excuse me. It's based off of the in-game effect that happens when you change sizes. So like when you go through a mini portal or a normal size portal, there's a little lightning bolt that happens, and that was meant to be kind of like a reference to that. Goes in. Whee! Fun little slow-mo. This. This part took some thinking about. Because I had to introduce the fact of, hey, these buttons are here, and what purple does influences what happens. So I needed purple to be taking up a good chunk of the screen. I couldn't have the zoom out. So I needed it to be close, but I needed to also communicate that what purple was doing was influencing what was happening in the level. And so that's why this laser's here. It was like 5 frames of the laser effect. So we see, hey, it goes up. So purple looks up. And now we're like, oh, what happens when the laser's pressed? So this is a real checkpoint that was placed in the footage. This is an asset that I drew. And this is an asset that I drew that's layered over top. Also, I put the glow in to just kind of be like, whoa, this is bright. Just like the personal effects that kind of just help a lot. So green crashes. And then this lights up. So it's like, oh, that's something. So we gotta move the camera closer. And it like kind of charges up a little bit. And then we play the noise and then green pops out. Cool. The mechanic of checkpoints are now established. Okay. Where do we go from here then? Maybe you don't always place them in the right spot that you want them. So there's a way to get rid of them. You go back to the last one. Sometimes you can put them in spots where you can influence your next jump. And that's practice mode. I was so happy people in chat caught the joke here. This was very much an intentional joke. The idea was that some people would catch it, and I think just the right amount of people caught it. I think it's on screen for the perfect amount of time to be like, oh my god, really? It's meant to be swept under the rug and not addressed at all. And I think that that also plays in service to the joke. Purple's like, yeah, it's almost my turn. Oh, that block's not consistent. Weird. Oh yeah. Might be a little bit hard to see when it's moving. But green goes past this spot, and purple's like waiting for him to go. And then he passes it. And purple looks so disappointed down there. He's like, oh. Because he knows something's up there. Like, he can feel something is up there. It's like, why else would the block be different? But he's like, oh crap, I gotta help. Oh, you never caught that? Yeah. That's fine. Got to reuse the same effect with a little bit extra. I added some lightning. Some rather thick lightning, too. I think in the future I'll dumb that down. I'm glad you like it. I'm glad you like that detail. It was fun. Oh, poor dude. Oh my god, you did so good! You did it! You completed practice mode, dude. Good job. I guess. So this jump is actually a reference to something very specific. Like the posing that purple does is a very specific reference to Super Mario Odyssey. Because every year I get into a really insane obsession with it for like a month, and it's usually around like Christmas time. And I think that's when this was animated, was like during December. And this movement that purple does is a reference to one of the couple of animations that plays when Mario does a long jump in Mario Odyssey. It's a very specific one. Then this part. This part took a while to do. Yeah, the long jump, yep. So this part was like all frame by frame, pretty much, as is with most of the film. I had to get him up there, but I didn't want him to do it the same way that green does, where he just kind of jumps up on the bars. Purple is more acrobatic. So I kind of wanted this part to show, like, oh, not only is he excited to go, but he'll have fun even just getting there. Like, that's how excited he is. Ground pound, roll, long jump, dive movement. That'd be really funny. I like this detail. It's very subtle. But while he's falling, he touches the button and, like, drags his hand alongside it. And there's a very subtle sound effect of there being, like, a... It's kind of like a... where his hand is, like, grazing the button. It's very subtle, and I don't really know if people acknowledged it or not. Yeah, I added a little bit of a camera shake for this, just for fun. White frame for impact. I reused the same effect from green, but I just colored the glow purple. Make him swim through the air. I looked up swimming reference footage for his arms right there. I had to look up reference. Oh, he's doing pretty good for his first attempt. He's doing a lot better than green was. It's okay. I can talk about that a little bit. The progress bar thing. So, what was interesting about this process was I had to make a custom progress bar. Like, this very much is an asset that I have saved in, like, my assets folder. And I color picked progress bar colors of both my icon colors being purple and my icon colors being green. And I have those saved. So I can use them wherever I need to now. I originally recorded this video with the progress bar, and then I had to go in later and re-record it without the progress bar specifically for this one single shot, so I could do this and have a duplicated one for this effect to show, like, it's okay. You still have a higher percentage. But again, this kind of goes back to the theme of, like, comparison. Comparison can be detrimental if you look at it in the wrong light. So green's like, it's okay. This was fun. I made a duplicate of green and made it a mask, and then had this I had this oval just scale, like increase in scale. It was very fun. And I actually really like this moment because it's, for green, it feels initially like it's a personal attack, but purple is just playing the game and doesn't exactly know how the ship works. So why would he be straight flying off the get-go? More particles. Shit, shit. Uh-oh. Well, shit. Here we go. Okay. So, okay. What I think I'm gonna do is I'm gonna play this scene from start to finish and then go through it after. Oh man, this scene. I loved working on this scene, dude. I will be right back. I have to use the bathroom really quickly, but I'll be back in just a couple minutes. Alright. Beautiful. Oh, I love this scene so much. So, I think I mentioned this earlier, but when I started working on this episode, I was not going to do this. This was not a thing that I had planned. This came up way later. In fact, I think I was working on this part of the animation where I was like, oh man, I think there needs to be a little bit more that happens for Green's character here. So I was like, what could I do? Because I don't want him to just start tearing the level apart, because that was always planned. Green was always going to use Stereo Madness against Purple. It was a canon event, you know? And for full transparency's sake, it is definitely inspired from the part in Note Block Universe. If you know the part I'm talking about, if you know, you know. But there's a scene where the background is all black and we get some really good visually narrative storytelling that happens, and I wanted to do something like that. And this felt like a really good moment for it to happen. But before I continue, I would like to show you guys the animatic version of it, because I storyboarded this scene. I boarded it and then added the music from Note Block Universe in as temp music. And so this is the original idea first coming to the screen. So I knew I wanted to do 3D, from pretty early on. So that was the original version. And there are a couple noteworthy things to talk about. One of them is this shot right here, the close-up. I got rid of this because there ended up not really being a point to it. And this shot got changed. Now in the final, it ended up looking like this. And we look up, and then we see purple standing like this. So it used to be this with a pan up. But I was like, that's not really as threatening. What would be more threatening looking? So we get a closer perspective of Green freaking out. So we kind of, like, we're kind of there with him in the space, and then he kind of gives up when he puts his head down. And the camera pans up and looks over to purple, which is right here in the screen. So it cuts, and he's still in that spot on the screen, and so that was just better cinematography language from the first one. And so that's why that got changed. Just really building it up. Music goes quiet. Oh, the impacts. I referenced Hexel, who's a very, very good stick figure animator. Hexel's like one of the best ones there is. But I love doing impact frames, and I wanted something that really felt horizontal. I needed a horizontal effect, and so I referenced one of his things, which did these lines and this like flashing star. And so this made a very, very natural transition back into reality. Because Green has this pillar that he punches, and then we cut back to reality where there is a pillar that he punches. And I was really happy with getting to connect that in that way, right? It felt very, very nice to connect that. In that way specifically. So then this continues, and then we see, oh, that pillar. Oh, purple has to react to what it did. Interesting. Also, every time there's like the star impact effect, purple, his icon gets a highlight, which I love. That was a very last minute thing. Like, I think I did that like, it was probably one of the last times I opened up this scene file was to do that, because I was like, oh, I need something just a little bit more. So I added that on every single time that he gets hurt. Or not get hurt, but every time that star comes up. And then we get this. Ugh, it's still so much fun to watch. I love that whole attack. It was so much fun to do. This part took the most time because there was so many complicated things that I had to get right. So to preface this, what you are seeing is me playing this level. This icon is part of the footage that was played. It was recorded. The attempt of me completing this was recorded, imported into my animation software, and anything that green interacts with is completely animated by me in the animation software. So for instance, this slab was moved and rotated with move and rotate triggers in the editor. And that slab is right here. He hits it, and it goes flying off, and it goes up, and it comes down, and it bounces, and it has physics, and it bounces, and it goes behind the ground, because who cares about it at this point? That's not what we're supposed to be watching. In normal stereo madness, there's a structure here that has 2 blocks. There's a second one with another chain on it. And that's where this comes from. This got knocked down from this structure up here. If you don't believe me, you can go and get a copy of Stereo Madness and go to 62%. It's there. Green does a tuck and roll. Purple lands on the block. And like I said earlier, anything that green interacts with, I animated in the animation software. So I had to make sure everything was put in place in the editor version. So there is an invisible block here that I knew this object was going to be placed in later on. He was going to get him right there, but then he jumped. Purple jumped. This was almost the thumbnail right here. This was almost the thumbnail, but the colors were wrong, so I couldn't do it. People were expecting green to be the one to play before going into it, so... Oh, here we go. Here's the fun smear. Bam! Ugh. These smears are so much fun to do. I love doing these. And the beautiful thing is that this is just one image. For 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. For 5 frames, that is the same image just rotated the perfect amount to make it look like it's rotating at the speed that I need it to rotate at. That is one image. I got the most use out of it that I could. Again, these objects are in the editor, and they each have their own groups that I animated them with move triggers and rotate triggers. These are trigger animated in the editor. Whee! There's the highlight again. Here's a duplicate that I did. I think that was a nice little extra thing to hide in there. This object, this thing, this was from the pillar. That was the top of the pillar. Right here. These guys. Comes back around. It bounces off of this object and bounces this way, and he hits it out of the way again. Some duplicates to mimic some vibration. Really stretch the chain, because it's fun. Oh, okay. So, this part took some planning. In this frame, this object is in the game. In this frame, the object is in the game. In this frame, the object is in the game. Same here, right here. This is the first frame where the object in the recording blips out of existence, because this is the first frame where I had to custom animate it in my software. So from here on out, this thing is no longer animated in the editor. His first weapon comes back, he's like, oh! But then, a new option is presented. Oh! Love that. This part was so fun to get right, dude. This was so fun. And I didn't think about doing this either. This wasn't part of the plan, so I also had to re-record this because right here in the footage, I think this is like the first frame of it happening, in the editor there's a time warp trigger. This is actual like in-game slowed down footage that was used thanks to a time warp trigger. This is just the same frame, I just froze on it. BAM! The portal breaking adds so much. And all those parts I had to animate using triggers. I would highly encourage you guys to go through parts of this that are interesting to you and go through frame by frame, because there's a lot of little things that are put in here that you're probably not going to notice on a normal watch. This hit right here, that causes the portal above to like get a little bit loosened up so it falls, and then this gate comes down and blocks purple from being able to go through it. But green does, so they get separated. And I like to think that this is a very good visual way to show that the two of them are different, because they're like intentionally separated. They're in different parts. They have different mindsets. So it's a pretty literal way of narratively showing that these two are separate right now, and that they'll need to come together later. And then this part. Take a very, very close look at the object here, because not everyone's going to really acknowledge it, but it would be nice if I could work with the thing. There we go. What? Come on. Okay, we're going to have to do this then. I made this object turn in 3D space. And that took a little bit to get right. But I think it adds a lot. Then we get spin one more time. One big wind up, and bam! Very nearly gets him. And he swings so hard here that the chain breaks, the object flies off, and green can only sit there and watch as purple gets the last coin. Level complete. You did it. You got the coins. Ooh, yeah, I want to talk about this part. So this was a very fun thing to do. So I drew a copy of this asset in my drawing program, which is Metabang, and I applied some directional blur to it. Imported that directional blurred version into my animation software, rigged it up, had the camera shake in a very specific way, and then I got to do some impact frames, because I love impact frames, okay? They're my cup of tea. These are really fun to do. I love doing impacts so much. White frame for brightness. Show the important stuff. And then this white shine, the star, this one takes up the most amount of screen real estate out of any of them. And that goes to show just like how much force this thing has, while also driving pretty much a literal wedge in between the two. And it's because of green that this wedge is driven there. But then he realizes he's the one who put the wedge there in the first place. So he gives up the chain. Custom inventories. It's a thing I want to play around with. They'll always need access to whatever items they have. For what? I don't know. But I know it'll be important, so I added them. Little practice mode motif in the music right there, just for the funsies. I think that was SJ's idea to put that in there too. I originally wasn't planning on having music in this part, and then SJ was like, hey, this part's gonna work a lot better with music, so I made music. And it worked out so well that I was like, okay, this is going in. Like, you fully convinced me that it needs it. Green tries to have a little bit of self-control. But purple's generous heart. So before we move on any further, I want to show you guys some interesting little things. Not, as I mentioned earlier, I used my drawing program and not my animation program for some very specific things. One of those is this frame. P progress blur. And that's because at this specific moment, I needed one frame of some motion blur for this. And I can't do this in my animation software as far as I know. And so it felt like I needed to do something about it. And so I imported this image into my drawing software, Metabang, set the perspective point here, and then drew these lines and applied some blur to it. I did a very similar thing for this image. Green vision blur. There's a thing that I picked up from some other animations where if you cut on the action like this, you have one frame where you don't see the thing that's moving. The next frame is a blurred version of what's moving, and then it's normal. Right here is this drawing that I applied a directional blur on. And I did the same thing with this. From purple and green grab hands. I took this image, brought it over, directionally blurred it. The effort that some frames have just for like a single frame effect, like a directional blur, I think it's pretty cool. And then the last thing before I go on to the end, I want to show you guys the different versions of the attack scene. And I'm pretty sure you guys have seen the attack scene enough, so I won't go and play it again. So I'll just play the other versions. This version is a reference version that I used. I'll let it play. I'm going to mute the audio. So as you can see, all of this is editor stuff. This is all the edited version. And I made this video to give myself a guide as to what should happen. Here I didn't do as much, but I just knew specific things that I wanted to happen in the environment, and so I did that instead. It's a little hard to see right there, but there's the stick figure down there. And this object, all of this was made in the GD editor. And it was exported as a reference for me to use for when I started animating in Harmony, my animation software. And you can tell that it's in the editor because it still has the fade effect for when it gets close to the screen. Just like that. So I'll play it again because all this was rigged. Or, edited, I guess, with triggers. Animated with triggers. So there's that. The other video is what the footage was that I recorded before it got brought into the animation software. So this is the actual footage that was imported and used for the attack scene. Turn the audio down again. This is what it looked like before. So this is me playing, dealing with all these invisible blocks and new gameplay. Blocks flying around, flying away. Bam! Particles for the coin were a part of this. You could see where the object disappeared earlier. There's the slow-mo. Swipe, swipe. That's the actual footage that was imported. So if you remember, green punches the pillar. Right here is the first frame that I used for it because it's the first frame where the structure isn't getting affected by the enter or don't fade, don't enter thing. Like right here it's fading in and the blocks are separated. Right there. It's the first frame. And then he falls and then we cut backwards in time to see purple have to react to it. Right down here, there's an object that green kicks out of the way. We just don't see it get kicked out of the way. And then he'll swipe down, causing that object to fly up, underswings, and all the rest of the attacks. And I had to play this and verify it myself. Which is something that I don't really think people understand that needed to be done for it. But trust me, it was the easiest way. And that's something that I wanted to mention, because this is a real level that had to get verified. Which is why it's really cool to say that this version of Stereo Madness is up on my in-game account for everyone to play. You can go, obviously since it's a 2.2 level, it's free to copy. You can see both versions, where you can see this version where it's just what I had to play with, as well as this reference version where you can see the fake objects that I used as reference. You can see both of these, and it's because there is a giant toggle trigger, right about here in the level. And all you need to do is just move it out of the way, and you can see the other version. If I remember to, I will add the ID of the level in the description. But the level itself is called Green's Madness. And it's up on my account right now for you guys to play. And with that, there's only one more video that I had prepared to show you guys. And that is everything that I had to animate for the attack scene with no background footage. So everything that you're seeing here is stuff that I had to manually do. Coins weren't there. I needed to add those in myself, because I already collected the coins on my save file. The finale. Boing! That's what I had to animate. All that combat. I like how you can see the silhouette of the cube right there. It's funny. Every once in a while you'll notice that there's like a little thing that pops in. Some things are really weird with the final thing, and so I had to, with the recording itself, and so I needed to kind of draw over them and patch them up to make them more consistent. Which is why you'll see like a couple of chains here. Because there's a sloped object, and I wanted the chain to droop in, like actually have some physics applied to it. Because Green's physics has been screwing up with the whole level, and so it's like they were freed from being the sprite. If that makes sense. I love the sparks. The sparks are really fun. A really fun last little addition to add. Boing! All right. Another thing that I want to quickly mention is I had created a couple of custom coin assets to help make the rotation of them more natural. So this frame of them, this is a custom drawing. It uses the frontward, or one of the side profile views of the coin, as a base, but the curve at which the coin is displayed is it's one that you don't see in-game. The coin has 4 sprites. There's this one, where it's facing away. This one, where it's facing to the right. This one, where it's facing to the left. And this head-on one. And so this one, you can see there's this little edge that when you play it, it helps rotate it in space a lot more smoothly. And that's something that I want to play around with more in the future, is the physical, like, dimensionality of some of these blocks. Like, they're not just 2D sprites to them. They're able to rotate them and change them and manipulate them in unique ways because they're in the game themselves. That's something that I'm really excited to mess with in the future. I want to do that more. One thing that helps really make them reflective is this smear. Because that smear has glow applied to it. Just like in GD, glow. Glow helps with other things besides level creation. It helps with shininess and metallic assets. And this one frame has glow applied to it. And it really, really helps. Not only sell the movement, but sell the material that they're made out of. And there's another one right there. There's two, actually. There's a tiny one, but the bigger one. And those help out a bunch. You don't really acknowledge them when you're watching it normally, but now you might catch it if you watch it again. Good job, guys. So, as I said earlier, this doesn't exist. What I had to do is get a copy of Stereo Madness again, set up a static camera trigger, at a very precise point at the end of the level, and then make sure that the ground and background colors were the same as when you complete the level by going the coin route path. Because when you go into the coin route, the background changes to red as opposed to staying pink, which is just a detail I really enjoy, but I had to make sure that it was the same red. And I had to make sure that I held on this for enough time to where I could get the most amount of mileage out of holding on this, because there's a slight pan out. And that happens in the animation software. But I had to make sure that I got enough screen recorded footage so I could pull that moment off. This is main menu footage. And at that camera cut, it stops being main menu footage. Because at a certain point, the background icons, when you're zoomed in like this, if a background icon shows up, it is way too distracting. And so I created a level. That is just this. It's just this loop for 3 or 4 minutes. And I import what I need. But this is a level that I had to make and screen record so I could make better main menu footage. 3 minutes, 49 seconds. And then all the buttons are moved and placed individually scaled assets. The text, the X button, the play button, the edit button, the account button, the daily chest button are all individual sprite layers. Wait, you don't want to leave? Yes! I love that moment. Ball's in your court. What do you want to do? Might be a little bit too many sound effects right there. Let's do it. Same teleport effect as before. Redrawn to fit, though. potential. The potential. Gotta show one more time how acrobatic purple is a little bit more interesting movement. To be continued. 14-ish minutes of straight character animation with no dialogue, timing and body language being the main communicators. And I think this last shot really does a lot to help characterize these two. Because purple is a little bit defensive. He turns his body away just a little bit, whereas green is like, yeah, let's go. His chest is exposed, kind of, in a way. And you get to see the difference in how they're animated. Purple's a lot smoother. Oh, I love that. And they get whisked away, and their teleport lines kind of go, they intermingle a little bit, and we get this big flash at the end. Yeah, purple and green. To be continued. Part 3. Thank you, everyone, for the music. Thank you for the sound effect usage. Colin for making the sprite page. Everyone in the special credits. Everyone here helped make this a reality. And that is Stick and Dash Complete Madness for you. That's pretty much everything I wanted to talk about, go over in this Animator's commentary video. Oh, my throat hurts a little bit. Thank you. Thank you, thank you. Episode 3 is being developed. It's currently in its very, very infant stages of pre-production. But I do want to get it out. I will take my sweet time making sure it's good. It probably won't be as serious of an episode as Complete Madness turned out to be. That is one thing that I'll go into a little bit, I guess, is I find this trope done a lot in movies where the main characters are really good buddies up until like right before the third act, and then they like separate. And I've seen that done so many times, and so that's something that I wanted to do with this episode, was I want them to have some form of disagreement earlier on in the story, and not have it happen at the end, because that's so overdone to me. I wanted them to have a one-on-one, I guess, conflict in the early stages of the story so that it doesn't happen when it usually happens with other media. And so that was a very conscious decision on my part, was like, okay, let's pin them against each other early so it doesn't have to happen later. And with that, I think that's kind of it. I think that's everything that I have to say about Complete Madness. Took over a year to make. It'll probably be the case for episodes going forward. Probably won't have episode 2 or episode 3 for a while. It will probably be a while, unfortunately. As much as I would love to get these out every couple of months, I don't think it's realistic, unfortunately. But that just means that when they do come out, it'll feel like more of an event, you know? And that's not necessarily a bad thing, I don't think. So, do any of you guys in chat have any questions for me that I can go into one or two last little things before I head off into the world, to the real world for a little while? Any last questions? I'm really proud of what I've done. You're all questioned out, that's fair. I had so much fun making this. I hope to continue having fun making this. These guys mean a lot to me. And I feel like they're starting to mean something to other people right now, too. And the amount of support that episode 2 has gotten, and actually retroactively episode 1 now, it's getting a lot more views because of episode 2, and it helps me a lot because I know that people are gonna like what I do. And that's a very, very validating feeling for a creative to feel. And I feel very lucky to have the following that I have and have this video get so much more recognition than I thought it would. It's very, very comforting to know that, like, I can do what I love and people are going to enjoy it, and that's really cool. I feel very lucky to have that as the reality that I exist in. So thank you guys, like, genuinely. Thank you for watching this. Thank you for enjoying it as much as you are. Thank you for all the positive comments and the constructive criticism too. Like, it's all done in service of getting the best product at the end of the day, and that's all I want to make, is just the best that I can do without overexerting myself, obviously. But yeah, thank you, everybody. Stay awesome out there.